The founding of America portrays the white race's homecoming, as that land is their former home, and one of the places where the great early spiritual enlightenment was brought forth. Thus it is the land where the greatest spiritual awakening will take place. In a short time you will be far ahead of the whole world in physical and mechanical development. You will go on and develop the physical and mechanical until it is perfected to such a degree that you will see there is but one more step to the spiritual. When that time comes, you will have the courage to take the step. There is a saying in your country that necessity is the mother of invention. Your mode of accomplishment has made you a very material nation. With your mode of living, this has been necessary in order to survive. When you, as a nation, do touch the spiritual realm, the strides that you have made in the material will seem like child's play. With the strong physical bodies and quick perception you have developed, your race will become a light to all other nations, and you will look back and wonder, as you are now looking back and wondering, why your forefathers used the stagecoach and the tallow candle when steam and electricity were all around them, just as it is all around you today. Had they abided by the law, they would have received and benefited as you have and will. You will find that the spiritual surrounds and is above the material. You will find that in the spiritual there is a higher law, and when you abide by that law, you receive the benefit, for the spiritual is just above and around the mechanical or material. You will find there is no more mystery in the spiritual than there is in the mechanical or the material. The things that appear difficult to you now will be simple, and you will surmount them just as readily as you are now surmounting the mechanical and material. It is the continual striving that does the work. By this time the old gentleman whom I spoke of before had selected and brought out a tablet and placed it on a nearby easel. Our hostess went on to say, "The great error which many people make is that they do not look upon lessons as a means of attaining a given end. They do not realize that when that end is attained and fully recognized, the lessons are to be discarded and the attainment is to be followed. Then if they still wish to go on, they may pause for a moment and place what they have accomplished in their storehouse, sometimes called the subconscious, and after this step, the lessons leading to the further attainment which they seek may be taken up. But as soon as the goal is reached, they must again discard the lessons. In this way they may go on, step by step, to the highest attainment. You will find that lessons are but steps in the stairway, and if you were to attempt to carry all the steps you have used to reach the top, the load would soon crush you. Besides, there would be no steps for your brother to use as he follows on. Leave the steps for him to use if he chooses. They have assisted you to reach the top. You do not need them any longer. You may pause a moment for breath, or for a fresh inspiration to go on. The moment that inspiration has come, you can place your foot upon the next step, and again place the attainment in the storehouse. Let go of all the lessons that brought you there, and there is nothing to encumber or hold you back. But if you look back to the lessons and do not hold your vision on the goal, you will, before you realize it, have fixed the lessons instead of the ideal the lessons would convey. This may cause you to waver and look back and say, "Did my ancestors accomplish in the way I have accomplished?" When I look far back, I can say they did, but when I look into the immediate future, I say they did not, for they accomplished by the sweat of their brow, while you are using your own God-given power. If you look back to your ancestors, you will, before you realize it, be worshiping them, for with your creative ability you will have brought forth that which you have gazed upon. You will be living by their standards instead of your own. You will begin to look like your ancestors, but you will not accomplish what they have accomplished. You will begin to drop back, for if you live by another's ideas, you cannot accomplish that which the one who conceived the ideal accomplished. You must either go on or return. There are no halfway measures. This ancestor worship is one of the direct causes of nations degenerating. Because of your lack of ancestor worship, we see a great nation in store for you. You had, in the first place, very little pride of ancestry, You had no ancestors to worship. You had no foundation save that which you made. Your ideal was a free country, and you brought forth your ideal. The country you acquired had been free from king or ruler. To you it did not matter how your grandfather had accomplished. It was how you, your own individual self, would accomplish. Then you united with the many to accomplish one purpose, and the individual self in you, the creative power that gives you life, God, held you in direct communion with your ideal power to create. Then, with your eyes steadfastly fixed on the attainment, you are going on in the realization of your ideal. Our hostess turned to the tablet and resumed, "On these tablets it is recorded that God was called directive principle, head, mind, and was symbolized by the character which is like your letter M, which was called Mo. Thus translated into your language would be director or builder. This directive principle was over all and controlled all. The first being he created was called the expression of the directive principle, and he was created in form just like the principle, as the principle had no form but his own to express by or through. This being which the directive principle created was the outer expression of the principle himself. He was created in the image of the principle, as the directive principle had no other form to pattern after. The directive principle gave to his creation every one of his attributes, and this creation had access to everything that the principle had. He was given dominion over every outer form. He had the form of his creator, the attributes of his creator, and the power to express all of them in the perfect way that the creator expresses, so long as the creation held itself in direct accord with the principle. None of the attributes of the created being were developed, but the creator, having in mind the ideal or perfect plan which his creation was to express, placed his creation in ideal or perfect surroundings where all of the attributes could be brought into outer manifestation. Thus the Creator did not place his creation upon earth until all the conditions for its perfect development were complete. When these conditions were complete, this being was placed among them and named Lord God, and the location where he was placed was called Mo, or M, and afterwards became known as the cradle or mother. I wish you to observe that I am putting this into words in your language so that you can understand them. You can go into the details later after you have learned to translate the tablets yourself. I wish to bring these points out so that they may become the principle from which we shall work in translating these records. I do not wish you to think that I am attempting to change any conclusions you have already formed in other ways or through other thoughts or studies. I am going to ask you to lay them all aside for the time. When you have gone deeper into these studies, you are at liberty to take up all others again, if you wish. I do not wish to influence you in any way. All lessons are but the outer, a way of arriving at a conclusion. If the conclusion is not reached or the aim sought is not attained, the lessons become driftwood, extra baggage, nothing.